guys, hope you're doing awesome. It's Tatiana, and it has been a while since I've been creating content regularly, so it's a bit odd for me to be making this video now, I'm not gonna lie. But I wanted to kick things off by answering some questions sent in through Instagram. So let's just get started. Okay, the first question I have is, what have you been up to over the last year? So over the last year, probably more, I've taken steps back from my business and my YouTube channel and all social media in general. The reason is not just because I had a baby, but also because I had been wanting to focus more of my time and my day into other areas of my life that I felt were equally or more important than just my business. And I got to a point with my business where I was now financially free, which is like a real big milestone to achieve. And I kind of sat there and said, well, now that I'm financially free, now that I've achieved this goal of financial freedom, am I going to continue working the way I did before that led me to this place? Or do I now want to shift some of that focus into some of these other areas in my life that I always said that I wanted to put more time into, but felt like I couldn't put the time into those areas? So one big area is my spiritual development. It is a limiting belief that I didn't have the time for it, but in many ways, like, it is a little bit of a luxury to be able to really develop yourself in that area and really commit some time to that. Anyone can do it. If it's a value to you, if it's a top value, you will make the time for it, right? Even if it means getting up early, staying up late. Like, if anything's a top value of yours, you will commit to it and you will make it happen. But for me, I kind of pushed that down because I had other things that became a priority when success was like my biggest focus. And success not like for the reasons of status, more for the ability of becoming financially free, because I always wanted to achieve time freedom. And you can achieve financial freedom before you achieve time freedom, and that was the biggest difference for me. I achieved financial freedom pretty early on into running my business. My business did really well, but I didn't have time freedom. I was really entangled into the everydays of my business, especially when you have employees. You know, it's just, you got to show up, and even if it is outsourcing work to people and managing people and, you know, checking on things, like, you still got to be there. So for me, what I realized was that I wanted to also have time freedom, and that's what really started me saying, okay, let me take some steps back from my business and let's focus on these other areas of life. And so I'm really glad that I got to do that. During my pregnancy, that was a big part of that, was like, you know, I went to the Joe Dispenza meditation retreat, and that was incredible. And I got to do that while growing a human inside of me, and I truly believe it affected Lucas. I was just in a really good place during my pregnancy, and I think that all of those positive emotions, I think he felt that. And like, if you meet Lucas, everyone who meets him tells me how happy of a boy he is. He's literally always smiling. He just laughs randomly, just looks at you and starts laughing. And he's just such a sweetheart. And I think a big part of it is actually how he felt in the womb. So, you know, anyways. So I've been focusing on these other areas of life, my spirituality, my health, my relationships, and I think that was really important to nurture before having a child. And then, of course, Lucas came into this world, and it's been the greatest blessing of my life. He brings joy into every single day, and I smile 1,000 times more. I laugh 100 times more. And I'm really grateful for him. But it's also been a roller coaster ride. It's been very challenging. The newborn stage was very challenging, not knowing what to expect. It's been challenging in my marriage. And things have come full circle. Things have really shifted now, and we have grown as parents, and we've learned a lot from the experience. But yeah, so I mean, been up to that. But the biggest thing, one of the biggest things other than having a child, was we built this house. So we built a house here in Panama, and we moved into it. And man, that has been a time-consuming process. It took 2 years to build. But to actually move into it, and then to do all the upgrades that we did and to furnish it, Stefan and I have both been working on this project for the last 4 or 5 months, since November, full time. Like, it's been a full-time job for the both of us. And there just hasn't been as much time for other things during the last number of months. All right, next question. Does motherhood live up to your expectations? It is so much better than I expected. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. It was never a question for me. I always felt very maternal, but truly the joy I feel when I'm with Lucas, and even when I'm not with him, like I miss him sincerely when I'm not with him for just an hour. You know, I just miss holding him and smelling him and kissing him and seeing his beautiful smile. It's really a miracle. It's an incredible gift, and I do think he is a spiritual teacher for me. Yeah, he's been, you know, God's gift to me in this lifetime. So it's surpassed my expectations, and I could never imagine my life not being a mom. So that leads me to another question on here, which is, will you have more kids? And the answer is yes, God willing. I always knew I wanted more than one. Of course, when you're, you know, the beginning parts of being a parent for the first time, it can be challenging. You're like, oh, I don't want to think about having another kid now. But now that I'm 10 months in, I am already seeing him like this little toddler almost. He acts like a toddler. He's running around the grass, and he's no longer this tiny little baby that's immobile. And I could for sure see myself having another one, maybe even 3. So we'll see what happens. Another question is, are you raising Lucas in Panama? And the answer is yes. So I live in Panama with my husband. We moved here, and we decided that this is a really great place for us to live. We wanted to raise Lucas close to nature, and here we are fortunate enough to live on the beach. Every single morning, part of my morning routine with Lucas is we go out to the beach and we watch the sunrise, and we take a walk on the beach, and I strip off all his clothes and he goes for a naked swim, and he gets all that salt water on his skin, which is so nourishing, and that early morning sunshine on his skin. Every day we create those magic moments. And then we also have this backyard that we get to play in, and we've got this great swimming pool, and so we get a different quality of life here. Sure, you can have those things back in Canada, minus, you know, the beach. You can have a backyard and such, but there's more to it than just that. There's also just where we live, it feels more like a neighborhood. We did want to raise Lucas in another culture. For example, he's already speaking 2 languages. So he's learning Spanish and English simultaneously. The brains of babies, they can learn any language, multiple languages at a time. They're like sponges. So as long as they're exposed to a language very early on, they will learn to speak it. And so he's been exposed to Spanish, of course, and he knows, for example, when I tell him tongue, he sticks out his tongue. And if his nanny says lengua, which means tongue in Spanish, at a completely different time, he still sticks it out. He knows those 2 different words. They don't sound anything alike, and yet he knows what they both mean. So we know that he's learning. So it's a different lifestyle, and also just, you know, for example, services here, you know, your money goes a lot further. So I'm able to have a nanny, I'm able to have a cleaner, and that changes your life because, you know, for example, I cook quite a bit now. One of my vows in my wedding was that I vowed to learn how to cook anything. And I've really lived up to that. I've been cooking for the family, creating nourishing meals. But to not have to clean the dishes after you cook a meal, like that saves you an hour or more of each day. I mean, just like the countless dishes that are accumulated over the span of the day, let alone just during dinner time, just to make dinner. So you're saving a tremendous amount of time on a task that doesn't really offer that much value to your relationships with your children or your partner. And so, you know, that for me is such a blessing, just that simple thing of just doing the dishes, like huge thing. Also, you know, I've got a 7,000 square foot house. If I'm going to be cleaning it up to the standard that I have, because I'm kind of a clean freak, you know, that's going to take an exponential amount of time out of every single day. And that time I could be spending with my son. That time I could be, you know, doing any other things that I value aside from cleaning. So yeah, your money goes a lot further here, and you can therefore really improve your lifestyle on the day-to-day. Okay, next question is, what is currently on your bookshelf? Okay, so actually I have not opened a book since I have been pregnant. Unfortunately, I mean, since I gave birth. I made sure to read a lot of books before giving birth because I knew that would happen. But I have been listening to books. So thank God for Audible, because when you're a busy mom and you don't have time to just sit on the couch and open a book, this is great because I've been listening to these books while I'm putting my makeup on, while I'm at the gym, or while I'm cooking something. So right now what I'm listening to is Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix and Helen LaKelly Hunt. Really great book, really fantastic. Highly recommend it. It's about your relationships. And so if you want to improve your relationships, which honestly should be a goal for everyone, even if you have a fantastic relationship, you have to realize that if you're not actively growing that relationship, it will die. It will fade away, because relationships require an active investment of your time and energy to be worked on. That's just how they are. They're kind of like a living being that you have to nurture and take care of. And if you don't, then years pass by and you guys end up growing apart. So you have a choice. You can grow together in a relationship, or you can grow apart. And so Stefan and I, of course, having a child throws everything out of whack, but we've realized that we really need to start prioritizing our relationship again. And we need to make the time for it, because if we're always waiting for when we don't have things to do, then really it's just never going to happen. Because when you're married to someone, you tend to take them for granted. Oh, they're still going to be there. Let me finish this big project first, and then we'll work on the relationship. But you find that you'll never get to the relationship then. So you got to do it. You got to do it now. And so one way that Stefan and I grow together is we try and learn some of the same things. So we're both listening to this book at the same time, Getting the Love You Want. And this way, he's reading chapter 5, I'm reading chapter 2. And we come back together and we share things with each other. And we collaborate on ideas and we discuss things. It's kind of like a book club. And so we've been doing this for years with business things. We go to seminars together. And we've always done this where we're learning together. But it's also important to put that focus not just into business things, but into personal growth in your relationship. Another book I'm reading is The Whole Brain Child by Daniel J. Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson. And that is relating to attachment theory, which has been a huge focus on mine since I was pregnant, because I knew that if I wanted to be a really great mother, one of the most important things I need to do is be aware of how traumas are created in childhood. Because the traumas that are created in childhood, oftentimes most people, they hold on to those for a lifetime, into adulthood and beyond, and they'll never become conscious of them. And so they will constantly plague their day-to-day lives, and they're totally unconscious as to why they do those things, why they react that way, why they feel triggered in that way. So the few that do become conscious of those childhood woundings that are causing the behaviors in themselves that are painful in adulthood, then they can work towards relieving themselves of those traumas from childhood. But most people never get to that place. So my goal as a parent is to do what I can to not shelter my child so that they don't get hurt, but so that I personally don't inflict these traumas on my own child. Because crazy enough, like most traumas actually come from the parents, the ones who love the children the most. And so it's not like we're consciously doing it, we do it unconsciously. And so that's what it means to be a conscious parent. And that's the next book I'm reading. A really great book called The Conscious Parent by Shefali Tsabary. And I love this book. Really fantastic author. I love the way she speaks. Just a very spiritual book on how to bring up a child. Not a how-to book, just reminding yourself of the intuition you have as a parent, and tying in the spiritual elements of parenting. Are you still working? So I haven't been working since having Lucas, because I just haven't had the time for it. Frankly, I do so much in a day that at the end of the day I'm so tired. So I have not been working. And I'm slowly starting to get back into some things. I'm honestly not going to be doing what I did before. I don't need to. So like I said, I kind of looked at my life and I said, okay, well, I'm financially free now. I've gotten to the place that I really wanted to be. Years ago, I decided I'm going to work hard. I'm going to make some, sacrifices in my life now so that I can get to this place. And now that I'm here, I don't want to continue doing what I did before. Now I really want to savor up all the moments of raising Lucas as a small child. It's just going so quickly, and I want to be present in the day-to-day. And so my family's my priority, and then anything extra, like extra time for a video like this, that is secondary, or even below that. It's just not a priority for me. But I still want to continue doing this kind of stuff because I do like that I like who I get to become. I like who I get to become when I get to be, you know, in that teaching mode, when I'm teaching something on YouTube, or if, you know, I'm doing a stream with Stefan. Like, I like that. I like who I get to become because I tend to learn more when I know that I have something that I might be able to share with someone else. Someone asks a question and I might pull back from an experience that I had, or a seminar I went to, or a book that I read, and I might be able to share some knowledge with that person. For me, that's really valuable because it helps me to continuously grow. And for me, growth is one of my top values. So to have something that gives me even more purpose to grow as a person is of utmost value to me. Do you feel like you've given up the old you? Yes, I have given up the old me, the Tatiana that you guys first met when I first started YouTube as a 21-year-old is no longer there. You know, that's just a younger version of me. I feel like over the last 10 years, I just turned 30. Over the last 10 years, I feel like I've lived many different lifetimes. I feel like I've evolved many different times. I've had a lot of different experiences, and I've grown a lot from those experiences. But of course, becoming a mother it's a very unique experience because in a day, you know, I mean, in my case, 2 days, you go from everything being about yourself to now everything being about your child. And that's how it should be. That is the sacrifice of becoming a parent. And I don't think everyone is suited to become parents for that reason, because not everyone wants to make sacrifice. There's a lot of people who want to stay living their selfish lives. And I don't say that in a derogatory way. I mean, I was living my selfish life. It's ingrained. You have no other way to be, because you don't need to be living for someone else. You know, it's just you up until the point where you have your children. And so some people don't want to let go of that, and I totally get it. Like, you wake up every day, you do what you want when you want, and you can really live a great life. But when you have a child, every day you are putting them first. So it doesn't matter what you want to do that day. The priority is your child. Of course, you're going to try and make sure that you still are taking care of yourself and you're doing things that you want to do, but the priority is always your child. So if there's a need that needs to be met first, that is going to be met first. And so, you know, your whole life changes overnight for that reason. And, you know, especially in the early stages of motherhood, you realize how much that old you is gone. And I think one of the key things for women is to let go of her. You know, she's gone, she's never coming back, and that's okay. You get to now become that butterfly, you know, that cocoon who was a caterpillar, and the caterpillar, she literally sheds her entire skin, including her face, in order to create a cocoon. And then from that cocoon, she is reborn. And you get to choose, what does your new life look like? Who is the new you going to be? And so the sooner that you can release your attachment to the old you, the better, because then you can now really appreciate the present moment, and you can appreciate the fact that you now can recreate who you are, incorporating this new identity that you have as a mother, incorporating your family into that. Yes, I've given up my old self, and there's nothing greater in my life that I could have given up my old self for than for my child. Like, there's so much pleasure, so much love, so much abundance, so much beauty in the raising of children that, you know, the old me, like, that's nothing. Like, it's not a sacrifice to give her up to get to where I am right now. So that's just my view on it. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you have more questions for me to answer, comment down below, and then I can do another video. Also, if you're interested in more longer form podcast style content, Steph and I are considering doing podcast style content for you guys. So if that piques your curiosity, let me know as well in the comment section. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.